Hello and welcome to Hidden Horsepower, live on location here at the PRI Trade Show 2022 edition. And Lake, we've got our first victim, Kendall Griffin here from G Engineering Performance Racing Engines in Mooresville, North Carolina. You roped him in, we're going to find out what he's doing.
Exactly. He stumbled up by the booth, so we had to drag him in.
And that's exactly what Lake said. We've got our first victim, but you don't feel like a victim, do you, Ken?
I don't.
No.
I'm just proud to be a part of it. Glad that we get the love from Total Seal. Without Total Seal, we wouldn't be where we're at.
And let's talk a little bit about that. You're coming off a very successful season and a very successful race weekend. You're coming in hot.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we actually had this little World Crown Four Cylinder Nationals at Cherokee Speedway in Gaffney, South Carolina this last weekend. And we had a customer that had our total engine package in, and he won the race. It had definitely our piston package and the Total Seal ring package that we put in all of our engines.
And like that's what PRI and what this is all about, right? Like there are a couple of series at the very top of the food chain that get a lot of the pub,
right?
But there is racing that is happening all across the country at different levels with different combinations.
Oh, and what they do is just as passionate as the big guys. Maybe in some cases even more passionate.
I would say it's probably a little more passionate.
Yeah. These people are dead serious about it.
They're going to race before they pay the power bill.
Yeah. You know, and so whatever they got to do to scrape together, get tires, to get in the racetrack and go,
that's right.
They're going to do it. You know, and so it's a big deal.
It is.
So you got to be competitive. You can't leave me on the table because everyone's so competitive.
That's right. And this is a starting point for a lot of racers. You know, there's been a lot of people that have come up through the ranks, and there's actually, you talk about Jeremy Clements. He actually raced and won this race years ago, and then now he's running Xfinity.
Right.
So you get to see this could be a starting point for the grassroots racing. And it could go all the way up to NASCAR.
Which, and you have to have that ladder all the way up. So talk a little bit about the engines that you designed for this series, because that's your, what would you call it, your in-house specialty?
It is. We pride ourselves on we like these little engines because they don't make a lot of horsepower. So when you do find some edges to where you might make 2 or 3 or 5 horsepower, it shows in the car very, very much. And we've been hammering on this. The design we have right now, we've been trying to hammer on trying to make a lot more power down low where we don't actually have to turn our engines so many RPMs. And where that come into is camshaft design and ring design to make sure that every bit of power that we're getting is getting to the back of the engine coming out of the flywheel.
Like, talk a little bit about that, because the ring, we know, creates the most friction inside the engine. I would imagine on a smaller engine that would become something that helped even more.
Oh yeah, it's magnified, right? Because like you said, it's administrator always calls it the triangle of efficiency. You've got your volumetric efficiency. How much air can we put through the engine? Because you can only make as much power as the amount of air you can put through the engine. Well, then you have all your mechanical efficiencies, like how much power did we make in the cylinder during the combustion event? Well, how much does that get to the flywheel? That's where the friction and everything else comes into place. You know, so then you've also had the thermal efficiency, which a lot of times you're limited by that. You know, a lot of times the design-wise, you can't control what the packaging is and all those kind of things. You have a clean sheet. You already have this engine that you have to use.
That's right.
If you're limited to what your block and head and all that kind of stuff is, like in your class, well, the thermal efficiency, you're somewhat limited in what you can do, but man, you can do some things with camshaft and that kind of stuff to get there in. But then what do I do with the power I made? And like you were mentioning, the higher you turn that RPM, the higher the price and friction you pay.
Yep.
So if I can make more power with less RPM, I might make the car actually accelerate faster.
That's exactly right. And that's what we've been working on, is the acceleration rate of how that is. And we do have a Superflow 902 dyno in-house, so we're actually able to test everything that we put together and see the trends, and we have seen it time after time after time with the updates that Lake brings to us, that Total Seal brings to us. We see it firsthand on the dyno, and we see it firsthand on the racetrack.
Over the course of doing this show and doing the podcast, like the new technology that you mentioned, right? It's not always easily or quickly adopted. Like, man, that ring is too thin, or I don't know if that's going to work. What is that relationship like between Total Seal and you guys when
it's the best? We have always. Life's not perfect. We have had some stumbling blocks with stuff that didn't seem to work, and we can always pick the phone up. And Lake is so easy to work with. Everybody there, even Kevin Studaker, everybody there, the Keith, everybody. So every time that we ever had any, and it hasn't been a lot, but we have had a time or two that what we felt like would work didn't work.
Yeah.
And we go back to the drawing board, and we typically come out with even a better piece after that.
Excellent.
Because you're always learning. Every engine's its own combination.
Yes, sir.
And you got to figure out what it wants. So you're having to kind of adjust that soup. We always call it ring seal soup, right?
Yes, sir.
You got to adjust that soup to the flavor of that customer. What do they want? And in this case, it's that engine. It's a really interesting little engine.
Yes, sir.
Being an overhead cam, 4-cylinder. The way the manifold is, fuel distribution probably isn't ideal all the time. So it's like, how do you make that work? And you just got to keep iterating and having that back and forth relationship. Which the great thing about you is coming from your background, working at Clements and doing all that kind of stuff. You've seen the big mindset.
Yes, sir.
So as opposed to, you're not afraid to make changes and to try things.
Exactly. If you don't try some things, you're never going to get better.
Yeah.
You're going to keep the same thing. And I get it. Sometimes the same thing may be okay. But as technology changes, typically you're going to get left if you don't update and try some different things.
Yeah.
And every time that, Lake's always been so good about telling us things that are coming down the pipe where, Total Seal in general has always been very, very good at telling us things that are coming down the pipe and letting us make that decision. Is this something that we're willing to try? And most of the time we are. So, you couldn't ask for a better company to work with for new technology.
Excellent. Plans for 2023, and what are you looking to accomplish here at the PRI?
Talk to our vendors, make sure that they understand that we wouldn't be where we're at without them. We would not be where we're at with the race wins and the success that we've had over the years without people like Total Seal and some of our other vendors. But that's our biggest deal here this year, is to make sure that we iterate to all of our vendors of how much they mean to us.
Excellent. And looking ahead to 2023 racing season, more of the same?
More wins.
More wins. That's a great attitude.
Yeah. All right, so I got to know, what's in the water in Spartanburg, South Carolina? Because per population, there's more good engine builders coming out of that Spartanburg area. I mean, we can just go down to a real quick list, right? Besides yourself from there, even though you're using Mooresville, he's from the Spartanburg area, right?
That's right.
So you got the Clements, you got Gene Fulton, you got Parr, and you go way back. I mean, that was Bud Moore and those guys back in the day. I mean, that little area, that's way above average. So what's up?
What I tailor it to is the grassroots racing. So when you look at a circle around that area, there's so many drag strips, so many dirt tracks, and so many asphalt circle tracks that you have all these grassroots racers that are racing. So it gives you somewhere to hone your skills and figure out how to become a really good engine builder. And at some point, maybe we'll land in that same circle.
I think you're already there. But what you're saying is practice makes perfect.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, excellent. Kendall, thank you for joining us here in the Total Seal booth. Good luck in 2023. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you. Thank y'all for everything you do for us.
Excellent. More to come. PRI 2022 here from the Total Seal booth.